Hi, welcome to the YouTube channel Cooking with Bruce and Mark. I'm Bruce Weinstein, and today we're going to take a deep dive into kimchi. So what is kimchi? Well, it's a Korean pickle, and it can be made from Napa cabbage, from daikon, from radishes, from many different vegetables. But today I'm going to show you how we make the most amazing Napa cabbage and daikon kimchi. Now, kimchi is a fermented pickle, and what's nice about this kimchi is that we make it fresh, you can eat some right away, and then we're gonna let it ferment for about 3 or 4 weeks in the refrigerator. And you can taste it every week, and you'll see it gets a little more sour, a little more sour. So let's get started. First, we need Napa cabbage. Now, I have a lot of this soaked already because this is gonna take quite a few hours to get done. So we need 5 pounds of Napa cabbage. This is about a third of what we need. Traditionally, Korean grandmothers in the countryside, I'm sure you've seen videos, they'll take a head of cabbage like this and they'll cut it into quarters, and then inside of each leaf, they'll rub a combination of chili and salt and sugar. Well, we're gonna do a much easier version. We're gonna have nice bite-sized pieces of cabbage. So we cut the head into quarters. We're gonna put those quarters in a big bowl. And we're just going to do that with this whole cabbage. So those are our bite-sized pieces of cabbage. Now, daikon. This is a small piece of daikon. We're going to be using 2 pounds to go with our 5 pounds of Napa cabbage. This is only about a third of that. Now, you can cut it into julienne by hand. And to do that, you cut about 1/2-inch slices. And then you put those slices on your cutting board and you cut those into thin strips. That's one way to do it. We're going to add those to our cabbage. They're going to get salted with the cabbage. The other way is to use a mandolin. Mandolin makes it very easy and very even, but it's also very sharp and very easy to cut yourself. If you're going to use a mandolin, I highly recommend you get one of these. It's a cut-proof glove. You can get it at a cooking store, at a chef's store. You can get it online at cookware stores. You put it on and you cannot cut through. This is a level 5 glove. You can't cut through this. So I don't even have to use the guard for the mandolin. So look at that. Look how beautifully even and perfect those are. So I'm going to do the rest of this piece of daikon. We have our daikon, goes in the bowl with the cabbage. Now, as most pickles, this is going to get salted. And why do we salt pickles before we get them soaking and fermenting and all of that? To take out all the extra moisture, because there's a lot of water in cabbage and daikon, and we don't want that to dilute everything else that's going in here. So for our 5 pounds of Napa cabbage, our 2 pounds of daikon, we're gonna have 3/4 of a cup of kosher salt. We're just gonna toss that, and then we're gonna fill this bowl with water, just so it's all covered, and it's gonna sit for 1.5 hours. At 1.5 hours, we're going to rinse it off 3 times, which means drain this into a colander, fill it with water, drain it, so 3 rinses, and then we'll be good to go. To ensure that the pepper paste we make gets evenly distributed with all of that cabbage and daikon, we're going to make a sweet rice porridge. And in that sweet rice porridge, we'll mix all of our other flavoring ingredients, our chilies and our fish sauce and all that. So we have to make the porridge first. So I have 2 cups of water that I'm bringing to a boil, and I have 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. The sugar will help with the fermentation of the cabbage. And then I have 1/4 of a cup of glutinous rice flour or sweet rice flour. So the water is heating up real fast, and we're just going to stir this, and I'm just going to stir it until it thickens. That's all. And then we're going to let it cool completely before we mix all the wonderful chilies and everything in. Keep stirring, it thickens quite quickly. As you can see, this has already thickened. And as soon as it comes to a bubble, which it has, we're going to turn it off. We're going to let this chill completely, and then we're going to make the chili paste out of this to go into the cabbage. Our sweet rice porridge has cooled. This is now going to be the base for the chili ingredients that get mixed into the cabbage. And by the way, this is what the 5 pounds of Napa and 2 pounds of daikon look like when they're completely salted and soaked and rinsed 3 times. This is a giant 20-quart stock pot that I'm using. Use the biggest vessel you have, or you can cut this recipe in half if you want. So what's going to go into this rice porridge? Well, first we have 2 cups of Korean red chili flakes, gochugaru. And this is a coarse ground. So when you go to the store, if you see fine or coarse, make sure you buy the coarse version of gochugaru, and we're going to mix that in. That's 2 cups. Now, that just gets stirred into there. We're also going to put in a whole lot of scallions. I've got about 14 scallions here, and I'm just going to chop them roughly. I don't want them too fine. I have seen modern American kimchi recipes where people put these in the food processor, and I don't like that. I like much more texture. I think it makes a much more authentic kimchi. So the scallions go in with the gochugaru and the sweet rice porridge. Now we're going to put in a 1/4 cup of garlic and fish sauce. This is a Korean fish sauce. What makes this different and makes this special is this one is made with sand lance, which is a kind of thin silvery fish, and it's called the sand lance because to escape predators it just shoots right down into the sand like a little sword, and it's a much more distinctive flavor than the anchovy based Thai fish sauce. And we're going to use 3/4 of a cup of this. This is also going to add big time to the fermented flavor and the fermentation of this kimchi. So that goes in there. And we're going to mix this up until it is nice and smooth. Well, smooth, it's going to be chunky, but evenly blended. Okay, so we have this beautifully mixed up. Now, because these chilies are very hot, and I want to mix this by hand, I'm going to put on some nice gloves. Okay, so now, this is our pot of cabbage and daikon. This is our bowl of spicy rice porridge. That's going to go right in there. And I am just going to massage this chili right into the cabbage. And this is why we do the rice porridge. We do it so that we can have the fluidity of that paste to get into every nook and cranny of the cabbage and the daikon. Oh, gosh. Now, once this is completely blended and all those chilies are blended with the cabbage and the daikon, this has to be sealed airtight. Now, if you have a big BPA-free plastic tub or a giant glass jar, you can put it in there, seal it airtight, or you can keep it in here, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to seal this in plastic, and then I'm going to put foil, and then I'll put the lid on. Now, I'm going to do refrigerator fermentation. I'm not even going to let it sit out overnight. This is going to take about 4 weeks to start to ferment and get that sour flavor we're really looking for. It'll start to turn after about 2 weeks, get a little sour. By 4 weeks, it'll be perfect. You can actually eat it right now as fresh kimchi. It's a delicious salad. But in 4 weeks, this is going to be sour and bright and the most perfect topping for a hamburger you've ever had. This is kimchi that I made last month, and it's ready now. This has been aging 4 weeks. It was exactly the same technique I showed you, and it's become very sour, and it is also very spicy. I love to eat it just like this with rice. Makes a great lunch. Mark loves to have this on a burger with mayonnaise. A rare grass-fed burger with lots of mayonnaise on a crunchy whole wheat bun is his favorite way. I do like it actually just on some rice, and to me, that's the simplest and most wonderful dinner. Super fabulous homemade Korean kimchi.